In this video, I'm going to talk about a bunch of my favorite camera accessories that cost less than $100. Now, some of these are right at $100 and some of them are well below $100. So there's pretty much anything in any price range under $100 in this list. And also a quick disclaimer, some of these products were sent to me by their respective companies. However, every single one of these products I specifically chose for this because I use them all the time and because I truly recommend them to you. So nobody paid me to put anything on this list. This is all 100% because I chose them. You know, a lot of these are smaller things that really aren't worth making a dedicated video about. However, if I do have a review of any of these, I'll link it down in the description. But either way, without further ado, let's just get into this video. Alright, so the first thing is right here, the iFootage C-Stars Q1. So this thing right here is essentially a quick release plate. So you can use this with a camera, you can attach it to a tripod, a ball head, anything like that. So in the basic kit, you get one of these and one of these. However, you can also buy like extra top and bottom plates separately. So you can attach this to your camera or to your ball head or anything like that. It has a 3/8 and actually a 1/4-20 mount. It's a really nifty thing iFootage does with like their spring released 3/8 thing. I don't know how to explain it, but it has a 3/8 and a 1/4-20 mount. And then you essentially just put one in the other, push down, and it pretty much locks it into place. It's really sturdy, it's not gonna come off. Essentially, when you want to take it off, you just rotate these to the left. It's pretty difficult to turn when it's not actually attached to something. Actually, in general, it's pretty difficult to turn, and sometimes I notice it actually unscrews from the tripod or whatever I have it mounted to. It's really useful if you have like a set of tripod legs, but you want to attach a slider or a tripod head separately to it without having to just spin it off every single time. You can just, you know, rotate this, pull it off, put one thing on. Even if you have like multiple tripod heads for one set of legs, this is perfect for that. Next up, we have this right here. So this is the SmallRig wooden side grip with a rosette mount on it. This is pretty straightforward. It's a side grip. It's really comfortable. A lot of side grips you get just aren't comfortable. They're too short, so like your pinky slips off, or they're just too small and just don't feel very good. This one is awesome. It has the RE rosette, so you can rotate it any direction you want. You can tighten it really good, and it's pretty universal. And it just honestly just fits your hand really well. The wood's really comfortable. There's really not much else to say about this. This thing is awesome. Now, if I didn't say it already, everything I'm talking about in this video will be linked down in the description. These will be affiliate links, so if you do purchase one of these products through those links, I'll get a small kickback at no extra cost to you. So if you do want to support this channel, you can purchase one of these products through my links. But either way, let's just get on to the next product. Alright, this right here is actually a lens. This is the only lens in this list, but this is the Canon FD 50mm f1.4. So this lens you cannot buy new. This is actually an old vintage lens from like the 70s or 80s, and that's exactly why I'm recommending this, because vintage lenses have just an amazing, unique characteristics to them. I actually have a few different videos talking about vintage lenses and just how awesome they are and how much I love them. But this lens, the Canon FD 50mm f1.4, is very fast. It's a 50mm lens. It covers full frame sensors. It's pretty sharp, also has really unique characteristics, and you can pretty much always find it for less than $100. So that's why I'm recommending this. Next up is actually another iFootage product. This thing right here, I actually have a dedicated review of, which I'll link down in the description. And honestly, I might recommend this too much because I always talk about this thing in my videos. But this is the iFootage Cobra 2 mini pod. So this is essentially pretty straightforward again. It's just a little mini tripod. It's super heavy duty. It's all made out of metal basically. It has a quick release plate up top here. There's really nothing else to say about this. I'll link the full review in the description. If you're looking for a mini tripod like this is literally the best option. I honestly love this thing so much. All right, next up, all this stuff. So this isn't anything specific. However, something that I always find myself using is like a magic arm, a cheese plate, a super clamp. All this little mounting hardware is so underrated, and honestly just having a bunch of this in your kit just in case you need it for something is super underrated and super handy to have. Like, these have got to be my most used things. I feel like I always just need to use a clamp for something, to clamp a camera or a light to a rod. Like, I have a super clamp holding this light up right here. I use these magic arms for holding my monitors on. I use these clamps for clamping everything. I use cheese plates for getting like extra mounting plates on cameras. I use these cold shoe mounts to get cold shoe mounts in different locations. All this random little hardware is stuff that you just really don't think about, but it's so handy and it really saves the day so many times. I'll link a bunch of these random stuff in the description. I mean, all this stuff is like 10 bucks, probably like $5, maybe 10 bucks, 15 bucks. So you can get a bunch of these little things for under $100, or you can just pick and choose one or two of them for really cheap. Next up, kind of going off of that, is these right here. Really nothing to explain here. These are just Velcro ties. So they're pretty much like the Velcro version of zip ties. I got a 50 pack for like 15 bucks. And they're these like 12-inch, I believe, Velcro zip ties. They're reusable. They have a little loop here you can go through. They're pretty strong. And honestly, I use these things for everything as well. Like I use them to hold these paper backdrops together so don't roll apart. I use them for wrapping up cables, for wrapping up XLR cables, chargers, anything like that. You know, you can cut them to make them shorter if you need to, and you can get a 50 pack for like 15 bucks. These things are super underrated as well. Like I said, all this little hardware stuff that you don't really think about is just so underrated, and it'll always save the day. All right, next up, these are kind of the same category, but a little bit different. These things are awesome, and these are called Spriggs. So this is kind of a new company, and they make these little things that essentially thread into your quarter 20 mounts in your camera, and they hold cables, and that's essentially all they do. You know, there's so many times I have cables just kind of going all over the place on my camera rigs, like HDMI cables, dummy battery cables, anything like that. And I usually use like Velcro ties to kind of organize everything. However, these can literally go right into a camera cage and just make your camera rig look so much cleaner. And you can get these in a bunch of different colors. I actually have these glow-in-the-dark ones, which are pretty neat. But again, I'll link these down in the description. They're pretty cheap, and they're honestly like indestructible. They're made out of this rubber material. Again, these things are just awesome, and they come in handy all the time. All right, next up we got this right here. Now, not this specifically, however, camera cages in general. So this is especially if you're a videographer. Having a camera cage where you can mount a monitor, you can mount like a side handle onto, you can mount, you know, just pretty much anything onto, even these Spriggs you can mount onto these. Having a camera cage for your camera is super underrated, and it's just one of those must-have things that pretty much every videographer and even photographer can really use. Now, pretty much any camera cage is going to be under $100 for your camera, and the SmallRig ones are the ones I'd recommend. They're honestly the best ones. They're pretty cheap, and again, they're so useful. They're just like everything on this list. They're just so underrated that you don't really think about, but it can really help out when mounting stuff to your camera. And so there we go. That wraps up my favorite camera gear under $100. Like I said, if you use my links down in the description, I'll get a small kickback at no extra cost to you. And also, if you went down, hit the subscribe button and like this video. Most of my videos are about budget, cheap camera gear and cameras and lenses and that sort of thing. So if you're interested in that, definitely hit the subscribe button and check out my other videos. Either way, that wraps this video up. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.